Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius. Today, we're going to talk about some very awesome stuff. We have a video about working in a bar, a book about a comedian and working in different places, and we have a totally awesome guest. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Jan McInnis.
Hello. Good to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Well,
I'm good.
Good. Well, Jan is a comedian and keynote speaker. This is going to be a funny show.
Funnier, because you're funny already, so I'm liking this already. We're going to have a good time.
Yep.
Talking about comedy and life on the road and all that good stuff.
That's right. Well, today we're going to start off with the video game of the week, and this is going to be a dwarf.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, babies in their diapers, welcome to the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius Boy.
That's me, Tiberius. Today, we're going to talk about some very awesome stuff. We have a video about working in a bar, a book about a comedian and working in different places, and we have a totally awesome guest. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Jan McInnis.
Hello. Good to be on the show. Thank you for having me.
Well, Jan
I'm good.
Good. Well, Jan is a comedian and keynote speaker. This is going to be a funny show.
Funnier, because you're funny already, so I'm liking this already. We're going to have a good time.
Yep.
Talking about comedy and life on the road and all that good stuff.
That's right. Well, today we're going to start off with the video game of the week, and this is going to be a dwarf.
And now it's time for the video game of the week.
And now it's time for the video game of the week. Today's video game is Tap House VR. This game is made by Catland and is on the Steam platform. This game is only available if you are using a VR system. This is a game where you act as a bartender, so be sure to talk to your parents first before trying.
I'll check with my parents, yeah.
Attention, we are not in any way encouraging kids to drink alcoholic beverages.
No, we're not. No.
We are not. Well, first off, I get into the game and see 4 teleporters in a bar. You have to pick a teleporter to visit a bar. Each bar is harder than the other. So I enter one and I'm standing behind the bar. A dwarf walks up to you and asks for a drink. Above his head shows the recipe for the drink and what he's asking for. You can see the glass that you need to use and what types of drink you need to put in it. Some require special types of glasses, and one even needs a bucket.
I'm ready for a drink now. Come on. Water.
Well,
I got water here.
True. Well, the recipe range from simple things like a glass of water or a beer, all the way to a drink that requires 2 different bottles, or some drinks and a mixer, like a tequila sunrise or something.
Oh. Ooh,
Now,
how do you know that?
So when it's normally a recipe where it says like these are the drinks that you need and what percentage needs to be in it, it says at the top what it is. So tequila sunrise is like rum, kosu vodka, something else, orange juice and tequila. That's what it is.
Orange juice, yeah.
That's the recipe. And bartending's not a kid subject. And if your parents don't want you to know about bartending, then you should pass on this game. I've been to so many restaurants like Outback, and I see the bartender behind the bar. I always thought this would be cool to learn how he did his job. Well, in the game, you are able to do exactly that. But there's a difference.
I like it.
Do you want to know what the difference is?
Yeah, I do.
Well, after you serve the drink, they pay you. But you don't have to clean up the mess, and the customers don't get upset if you drop or throw the drinks around the bar, even at them. Well, I was going through the game and I asked my dad to play. We are very competitive. He used to be a bartender and told me that it was very realistic about how fast you have to serve the drinks. I'm getting good at the hard levels.
Yeah, and you got to work. Did your dad tell you got to work the 5 o'clock shift and the good late night shifts to get the real good tips?
It's a game. I just had like 5-minute shifts. Well,
good.
I picked this score for a reason, because it's funny. Because I give Tap House VR 200 trillion out of 10 stars because I really like chucking glasses at the dwarfs and watching them in a bar fight while doing your orders.
Perfect. I'm going to have to check into. I don't watch any video games, but I'll check that one out because it sounds good.
And somehow there's explosions.
You gave it such a good write-up, so I got to go watch it.
See Tiberius Smith Law.com.
You can call him at 407-801-2667.
Wait, you are not Chuck.
My dad can help when people get hurt. He loves to help people.
If you are ever injured at work or in a car accident, you should call my friend Chuck.
You can call him at 407-801-2667.
That website again is cwsmithlaw.com.
Offices, Orlando.
Does it actually have that much W's?
And now it's time for the Book of the Week, Convention Comedian, Stories and Wisdom from 2 decades of chicken dinners and comedy clubs. That's a mouthful.
That is.
Well, this book is written by Jan McInnis. She's a real-life comedian. Let me read the back of the book. In fact, Jan, wait a second. You are the author. Would you like to do the honors?
I would. All right, here's the book, Convention Comedian. What's it like to be a full-time comedian? You can find out in these pages. Jan spent more than 2 decades as a professional comedian, touring throughout the United States and making people laugh in all sorts of venues, from traditional comedy clubs to convention stages. And no, it's not all smooth sailing. Check out the book. Thank you, Tiberius.
Well, this is not an AR book, so you don't get any extra points for reading it. But it was a good book that lets you look into the life of being a comedian.
Yay, don't you want this life? Look it all around.
I mean, you'd have to pay a lot of money, though. Because it isn't free just to go to a gig. You have to pay money to fly there or drive there. I mean,
Well, but
if
they'll pay
you're
you.
driving to a place where they say something is free, it's not. You have to pay for gas.
Hey, you sound like you've already done some comedy.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I'll do that
But I
good.
do know some jokes. Well,
Oh, good.
this book is about our guest, Jan, and all that goes into being a full-time comedian. She has to deal with a lot of issues, like driving to crazy different places, or people that want her to be edgy and tell dirty jokes. She does not have a lot of dirty jokes because she does a clean show. But she also has to deal with drunk people interrupting her and her show, and even one guy got on stage and hugged her while she was performing. Remember that?
Yes, I've had a lot of weird stories. Yeah, 27 years.
Oh, wow. Well, this is a pretty hard job. In fact, she even quit for 2 years, but her love for comedy drew her back. Now she works all over the country and tells people to never give up on your dreams because you can do anything that you really love.
You can. Thank you. Yes, you can.
Well, I give Convention Comedian 10 out of 10 stars because I really like learning all about the backstage stuff and how you got started as a comedian.
Great. Read the book and we'll have a great conversation about it too.
Sweet. And now it's time for an interview of an interesting person. Today's guest is going to be so much fun. Today we have the one, the only, the amazing Jan McInnis! So first off, how are you enjoying being on the show?
I'm enjoying the show very much. I like it. You got a great format. You've got some good insights into some dwarf
Video game.
video games.
Bartending.
And you love my book, so hey, what's wrong with that? Nothing else. Nothing bad to say about it. It's great.
Hey, I picked that game for a reason because you deal with bars.
Yeah, I did. Not so many now, but I did when I started. Boy, And there was
Okay.
no throwing glasses. Well, people never threw glasses at me, but I had a few nights I wanted to throw glasses at them.
Okay, so you're a comedian, and yes, I read the book, but please, oh please, tell me how you got started.
Yeah, for sure. I was never the class clown, but I did always thought it'd be kind of fun to be a comedian. I didn't have anybody in comedy. I didn't know how to do it, so I went through school, went to college, and I remember the night I graduated from college, we all went to a nice dinner, and I looked around at my whole family and I looked at my parents and thought, now is not the time to tell them I want to be a comedian. So I went in. They just spent all this money in college, so I went into marketing for about 12 years. And I lived in the Washington, D.C. area at the time, and I just finally got the nerve to get on stage and at an open mic, and I got hired off of that, started working comedy clubs nights and weekends, and then finally, after a couple of years, moved into the corporate. Yeah.
Nice. So, how did you come up with the ideas of what you were going to talk about?
I think comedians talk about what bothers us on stage. So what things that bother you, if it's work or school or whatever, and we get up there and we kind of rant a little bit about what things that irritate us in life. Funny things sometimes we see, but I think a lot of times it's, what makes you mad, what makes you irritated, or what looks stupid. Yeah, you get school and, the things that they make you learn in school that you never use again. Stuff like that, yeah.
Like two-step equations.
Oh, two-step equations. I don't even. Algebra was the big one for me.
Yeah.
Never used it.
That's
Don't
in
use
algebra.
it. Oh, okay.
Okay, so I am just a kid. So how can I be funnier so more people will enjoy my company?
How can you be funnier so people? Well, I think you have to pay attention to your surroundings. A lot of humor comes from observation. And look, a couple of ways comedians do it. We look for the ironies. What are the disconnects and the things that don't make sense? And have some fun with that. I did an event one time where the guy speaking ahead of me was speaking on networking. And the title of his talk was Never Eat Lunch Alone. Right after him on the agenda was Lunch on Your Own. So they're contradicting, and it's funny, and just pulling out those ironies and those contradictions
That's funny.
is helpful, and it's a muscle. You got to practice it, so you can't just decide one day I'm going to be funnier, and you got to start looking for it. And after a while, it just kind of pops out at you because you've done it so much.
True. So when you were a kid in school, were you the class clown?
I was not. You know what? I always wanted to be a comedian, but I wasn't the one that got up and made I'd make the snide jokes to my friends and kind of in small groups, and I had to remember, you're not a senior yet. Senior year in high school, they have these things called superlatives, like best dressed and most athletic and I'm better than you and all those things. Kids vote on them. And my friend Judy said, well, Jan, sometimes you say funny things, so I'll put you down as funniest. So I got 2 votes, me and Judy. Nobody knew I was that funny, but at our class reunion, she said, yeah, you're a comedian. That's perfect because you were always funny. So I was never the loud comedian. I'd always just to my friends.
Yeah, I'm always a loud comedian.
Good. Well, the thing is with comedy,
I'm not the class clown, but
people are afraid to do comedy sometimes because they feel like they have to have people tell them it's okay. They have to get permission. You don't have to. Just have some fun with it, Just do it for yourself. Find the funny things in the situation.
So how long have you been doing this?
I think full time about 27 years. No day job, no waitressing. Yep. No bars. None of your bars. 27 years.
So how did you know this was the go-to job for you?
I wanted to try it and I started getting a little success. And after about 2 years with my regular marketing job and then doing this on the side, I finally thought, I can do this full time. I think I've got enough contacts. And so I just took the plunge and went into it.
Wow.
Yeah.
How does being a comedian make the world a better place?
Oh my goodness. Don't you feel like when you start laughing, you change the energy from stressful to fun, from tense to relaxed? I think laughter and helping people find the humor in situations is a great way to change the energy and just lighten everything up a little bit,
Mm-hmm. Well, does it take a lot of formal training to become a comedian?
No. In fact, you can read books and you can take classes, but really the best way to do it is to write your material and get on stage at open mics and do it in front of an audience. That's where you learn your stage presence and your, if your timing works and if your jokes are funny. There's not many other jobs that you have to learn by doing it, Can't do that with being a surgeon, you really have to go to school. But comedy, you can get up and
McDonald's,
yeah,
Chick-fil-A, this you kind of gotta learn. So do you normally joke around like all the time or just when you're on stage and performing?
I'm kind of half and half, but don't you hate those people who are always telling jokes and they won't be serious? They won't give you a straight answer.
I have that same problem.
Yeah. So but you want to. I think I'm a mix of I'm funny on stage, but yeah. So I'm really funny on stage and off stage. Make some funny comments, but it's not all the time.
Yeah. So, what is the best part about working as a comedian?
Being self-employed, getting on stage, meeting all the different people. There's a lot of great benefits to being a comedian. Not just getting all the laughs, but just to travel the country. I mean, I've worked in every state except Alaska, so been to Florida a lot.
Way too far.
No, it's not. It's right down the street from me. Well, I'm in LA, so.
Oh. Well, what was that one thing that when you started to work in this field that you did not expect?
What did I didn't expect all the waiting around and all the hurry up and wait. You get to the club and you wait and you wait and you get to the event and you wait and you wait. And then it's sort of, okay, now you got to go. So there's a lot more waiting around, a lot more last minute stuff. And that was sometimes it's hard to plan. You get a last minute gig, you got to jump on a plane tomorrow and go out. A lot of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, now that I've heard there's a lot of waiting, I don't know if I want to be a comedian anymore.
I could never be one of those comedians that walks in a minute before the show and jumps on stage. I need to get there early, but then you're sitting there waiting,
It's like, charge my battery before this.
Yeah.
Well,
So
now I hear about people that interrupt your show. What do you do when that happens?
You know what? I don't get a lot of hecklers. I'm very lucky. Really, you don't have to be mean to them. You just have to look at the heckler and say something like, like, why are you doing this or what? And sometimes you get them to back off. I found sometimes if I joke if they've got a girlfriend with them, it's usually a guy heckler, a girlfriend with them. I can make fun. I can go to her and say, "Hey, why are you dating this guy?" And kind of embarrass her, and she'll get him to shut up. So, but I don't get a whole lot. I don't have an act where people want to.
That is funny. That girlfriend one. That's funny.
Yeah, go after the other person. She'll get the guy to shut up.
Yeah. Well, what is the hardest part about being a comedian?
I'd say the travel schedule. The travel is crazy. It's and even more so after the pandemic. It's just the less flights, and you're always trying to you got to make the plane. Got to make sure the plane gets on.
Get there.
You got to get there in order to be there to do the show.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, what advice would you give to my listeners if they wanted to grow up and be a comedian?
What would I tell them?
Yeah.
Advice? Do it, but you got to get out and you have to do it. Like start now. Start looking around for things that are funny. Start reading, how to craft material. Start watching a lot of comedy to see what you like. Not to steal material, but to just see kind of your style. Do you like stories? Do you like set up punch? What is it that you want to talk about? And start making notes. And do it as much as you can. Make notes on what you think is
funny.
What bothers you and why does it bother you? What's funny about it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is the one tool that you use most in doing your job?
The one tool, my brain. And being present. I have to say, I don't know if it's a tool, but you've got to, in order to handle everything that's coming at you, if people want to shout at you or the light falls down on the stage or something, you've got to be present to be able to handle it and make a comment and be able to address what's happening in real time.
Well, that just happened.
Yeah, I know. Or the waitress drops a tray or something. Yeah, you've got to be able to react to stuff, and so that's kind of a skill, maybe. Mm-hmm. The tool would probably be my microphone.
That's true. So when you were a kid, what did you want to do when you grew up? Did you always know that you were gonna be in comedy?
I always knew I wanted to. I didn't know I would be in comedy. I remember when I was younger, probably your age, I told my parents that, because I grew up in Virginia, I said I would, when I turned 16, I'm going to buy a motorcycle, ride cross country, and be a comedian. They didn't like that. But I didn't have a path to it. So I always just thought, it'd be nice to do, but I don't know how to do it. There's not a college degree in being a comedian. So
True. Well, what is that one message that you want to get out to the kids all over the world about working in this field?
That it's fun and that you don't need to wait and get permission to do it. If you want to be a comedian, start now. Start looking around. Start thinking about it and putting together your act and making your notes and you can do it. I mean, it's not just for people with contacts. I don't have anybody in my family that's in the entertainment business, so I just figured out how to do it.
So what is the best type of audience that you enjoy performing in front of?
Well, I like all sorts. Healthcare. I do a lot of events for healthcare groups, education, financial, and women's conferences. So they're great. The corporate groups that I do now are really fun. I do a lot of keynotes for corporate, and I'm really enjoying those audiences because they're not at night.
That's true. So now you are also an author of Convention Comedian.
Yeah.
Well, can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, that's my second book. It's Convention Comedian Stories and Wisdom from 2 Decades of Chicken Dinners and Comedy Clubs. And it's basically stories about what happened to me on the road and what I learned from it. Because I like to learn from, if something bad or good happens to you, what's the takeaway from it? So it's some of the stuff that really happened, and how did I handle it, or what could I have done better? So.
Mm-hmm. Well, what is the craziest thing that has happened while you were doing your passion?
The crazy, you know what? I did the show one time for 4,400 people, and they ran out of dinner for 1,500 people. And it was their employee appreciation banquet. And it was plated dinner. It wasn't a buffet, so they just miscounted 1,500. You do math, they miscounted 1,500 meals. And some people were very angry. Probably had 700 or 800 people that stormed out before the comedy started. It was myself and a couple other entertainers. What do you do? I mean, you just go out and have some fun with it.
Kidding me, right?
No, 44. So when I went out, there was probably about 4,000 or 3,800 people, and they were good though. They were in mood to laugh. They knew there was a big snafu with the meals, and they were fine. They were all happy about it. Mm-hmm. But I've been in front of a lot of fun, different groups. Not just when I moved into the corporate. I mean, I've got to do a show for the Blind Merchants Association, which is 600 people I was the only sighted person in the room. I mean, cool stuff like that. You get to meet different organizations in different industries that you really wouldn't normally work in. So
True. Well, I run a radio show and podcast that talks about God during my Lion Strong segment. How do you include God's message in your work?
Well, I don't really get into religion or politics or any stuff like that. But I think making people feel good and helping them forget about their bad day or whatever day they've had their struggles. I've had people come up to me and say, "Thanks, I really needed that laugh," and I think that's a way to help people. That's the way how I think I help people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you run a podcast like me. Can you tell me what it's all about?
Yeah, it's a lot of the stuff is based on my book. It's called Comedian Stories, Tales from the Road in Under 5 minutes. 5 minute stories. I kick it off with a joke, one of my jokes from my act live, and then I do a quick story about something that happened, and then I wrap it up with a little takeaway tip. What did I learn from that? So some of the stuff that's in my book, but a lot of other different stories about life on the road.
Mm-hmm. So how can my listeners find and hear your podcast?
Comedianstories.com, or it's also on every place on the planet, Spotify, and you name it.
Wow.
And it's there. So
what's the funniest joke that you know that you did not write?
Well, I wrote all my own stuff, but here I don't. This isn't the funniest, but it is my St. Patrick's Day joke. So we got that coming up. So you can use this one because I didn't write it. I have no idea where it came from. What's green and sits outside?
Grass.
Patio furniture. Get it? Ah! All right. That's for your St. Patrick's Day coming up.
Wow. Well, what is the one joke that you're most proud of?
I like all my material. I don't know if there's one joke. There's some jokes that are just fun to say, and just and you always get a laugh. I talk about dieting and exercise, and I said, I tried yoga. I can't do that because I got a birth defect. I was born with a spine, and if you tried yoga, you know what I'm talking about. Yoga, ow, yuck. So it's just fun, some fun stuff that people can relate to, that connect, and you get people. Oh, I tried yoga. I've tried yoga. I've tried it. It's terrible. I can't do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you could go back 10 years and tell yourself something, what would it be?
I would tell myself to not be afraid. It's all worked out. People are afraid to try things, whether it's going full-time into stand-up comedy or whatever it is. And it usually works out if you work hard enough and you pay attention to what's going on around you, so you can, take advantage of things, ways to better yourself. Don't be afraid. I would like to tell my earlier self, don't be afraid.
Well, do you still do gigs?
Oh yeah, I do the corporate stuff. I'm still I do mostly keynotes, which are I talk about using humor to handle change, and how comedians bounce back on my resilience
That makes
keynotes.
sense.
So, yeah.
What is the biggest mistake you ever made, and how did it change you as a person?
Oh my goodness, I've got a whole drawer full of mistakes. Which one do I want to talk about? I think I would just say overall, my biggest mistake is when I haven't paid attention to my gut instinct, and I've done something. Either I did it like for the money only, even though I thought it was going to be a terrible gig, because then it would turn out to be a terrible gig. So listen to your inner voice, and pay attention when you've got that nagging voice that says, "Nah, that's probably not a good idea. Don't do it." So every time I ignore that voice, I get myself into trouble.
Well, if you could do any other job besides being a comedian, what would you do?
I would love to do like forensic files. Do you ever watch those shows?
Not really.
Oh, I love the detective shows. I think I would be a detective.
Like Numbers.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I haven't watched it. I've seen. It's good. Okay.
Those are really good.
Okay. I like all the true crime and the Joe Kenda. I don't know if you've seen that. I like that.
Like NCIS.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, do you play video games? And if you do, what's your favorite one?
I don't. Pong. I started with Pong, and I'm sticking with Pong.
Do you ever play on your phone?
I don't. I don't have any.
I figured it would, because you have to wait so long.
I'll watch TED Talks or something like that on my phone. Or listen to podcasts on my phone now. Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you tell me that one story? Remember, this is a kid's show. But that one story, well, that you're not supposed to tell me about. Come on, you can tell me.
Oh, what one story should I not be telling you about? Well, I've got a bar gig story. Just okay, just bar gigs for comedies. Like the bar would have maybe a show on a Monday night, so all the comedians that worked that club through the week would come over on Monday night and do a show and get some extra money. But they're very hard because people are drinking, and Monday night is usually they're drunk, and it's usually Monday Night Football, and they'll turn off the Monday Night Football game and send you up. So they're very hard gigs. And people that showed up at the bar aren't expecting
watch Monday Night Football.
Yeah, and then they get turned off, and they send comedians up that they'd never heard of, right? And I went into a bar one time, and I met the bar owner before the gig, about a couple hours before, because I wanted to see the bar. And he said the funniest line to me. He just looked at me and said, looked around at his group, and he said, "You ain't got any of them thinking jokes, do you?" Like I'm going to accidentally educate his crowd. And he did not want any thinking jokes. He wanted the easy, dirtier jokes and stuff like that. So yeah, and I did have thinking jokes, and it was a hard, bad.
You do a clean show, and it's like,
yeah, I know.
Especially because they're drunk. They want you to do dirty stuff because they're drunk.
And they've come to a bar and where it's a more free situation. Yeah. And that just wasn't what I did. So I finally got out of the bar gigs. So I'll play your bar video game, but I won't do the bar gig.
Well, is there anything else you think my listeners should know about you?
My website. You give me a plug on my website, theworklady.com. And yeah, otherwise it's a great career. If any of your listeners has any questions. Facebook. Oh, go to Facebook. Facebook, go to Jan Fans. That's with the S, janfans.com. That's my Facebook business page. And
What
connect
about
with me.
Jan McInnis?
Jan McInnis on Facebook. Yeah. You have easier time connecting on Jan Fans, I think.
Okay.
Because I don't think my Facebook is open to the public, but that one is. That business page is.
Okay.
And yeah, ask me any questions. I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has that want to get into this business. Or it's a great life. Can't complain.
Well, what is that one question that you think I forgot to ask you?
What is the one question? My age, and I'm not telling you.
I know. I'm not allowed to
Everyone
ask
asks
that.
my age. I'm not telling you my age, my weight. You covered them pretty good. How to get started and how to find material. You had great questions.
Thank you, Jan, for being my special guest. Can you stick around for Math Corners?
I can, yeah.
Over 40 years, Lighthouse Central Florida has provided education, independent life skills, and job training to thousands of Central Floridians who live with blindness or any degree of vision loss. Whether it's picking out clothes in the morning or just moving around your community and serving Orange, Seminole, and Osceola counties, contact Lighthouse Central Florida at 407-898-2483 or visit them online at lighthousecfl.org.
Tiberius' favorite subject, it's Math Corners.
And now it's time for Math Corners. Thank you so much, Jan, for helping me with Math Corners. Last week, why scared? It's easy.
It's math.
I know. Well, last week we talked about two-step equations, and we did a word problem. I'm not a fan of word problems, so my dad loves giving them to me. Great. Well, he found that he was good at finding two-step word problems, and most of them have a product and a subtraction. Here is the one that he gave me this week. Sophia has a $20 bill. She buys 5 squirt guns for $3 each. How much money does Sophia have left over? Well, so I go to answer my dad, and he says that I would have to provide the equation first. Oh boy. Now, the answer is not good enough. I have to prove why it is the answer. So I go to work on the equation. We know Sophia has $20 and that's all she has. That will be on one side of the equation. Basically equals 20. That's one part of the equation. Now the other side will have 5 squirt guns times the price of the toys and the leftover. Oh, there it is. The leftover is the variable. All of that equals the $20. So first, you take the number of toys times the price, then you get 5 times 3, and that's 15. Now to get the variable by itself, you have to subtract 15 from both sides. Well, that gives you x equals $5. So the answer would be 5 is left over.
Yay. And then you have squirt guns to use on your cats, which I do. I just happen to have one here because that's funny.
So what happens is basically the equation is 5. Well, actually, yeah, that's right. 5 times 3 plus x equals 20. That's the equation.
That's my kind of math. I can do that math.
So, Jan, do you not know all about two-step word problems?
No, I don't. What are two-step word problems?
The thing that we just went over.
Oh. I thought you said, do you like them? I'm like, I don't know. I don't, you say math and my brain closes down. All right.
Math.
And
Well,
you like
my teacher says that I would use math every day. Do you have to use math in your job, like money management?
Yeah, well, you got to count out the money you're given, or they will cut out some of your money if you don't pay attention. So yes, I use math in my job. Actually, we use math a lot in comedy because you were always told the time you're allowed on stage. There's a little red light that goes up above the stage, and they'll say 6 minutes or 4 minutes. They don't mean 5 minutes. They don't mean 3 minutes. They want you to do exact. And so that light goes on. It usually means you've got 60 seconds to wrap it up, and you better be on the mark. So you don't see, the audience doesn't see the red light, but we do.
You do.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Jan, for your help with Math Corners.
MidState Fire has been providing top quality fire equipment services for 3 generations to the Central Florida area. Don't wait for an emergency to repair. Call MidState Fire today at 407-246-8855. Get your fire extinguishers and emergency lighting for both your home and businesses by visiting www.midstatefire.com. That number again is 407-246-8855.
And now it's time for the Heart of a Lion. As you know, we talk about the qualities of living by the Heart of a Lion, which stands for leadership, integrity, obedience, and nobility. Well, this week we're going to talk about nobility. For me, I think nobility is remembering we are God's special possessions and acting in a noble way, showing courage and honor. Well, the qualities of nobility are goodness, virtue, honor, generosity, and selflessness. Well, this week I practiced nobility. Most don't know that the ability to forgive is nobility. This week, a friend of mine really hurt my feelings. I was very upset. She said she was sorry, and after a few days, I told her that I forgave her. Sometimes it is not easy to forgive people that hurt you, but it's an important part about building relationships and learning from your mistakes.
I agree.
So, Jan, did you see or use nobility at all this week?
I saw some very nice people who were kind of ignoring the bad. I'd say flight attendants. I was on a plane a few days ago, and they're very courteous when people have been told 1,000 times to wear the face mask, or and they still aren't doing it. And the flight attendants they don't lose their temper. They ask politely, and they usually get what the result. So which is nice. So I'd say that's a nice example.
Mm-hmm. Well, of all of the Heart of a Lion virtues, which is your favorite?
I like the nobility. I think that one's a cool one.
Okay. Well, we should always try and be lion strong in everything we do, shouldn't we?
Yes, absolutely.
And that's our show, folks. So I want to thank the one, the only, the amazing Jan McInnis!
Thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
For being on my show. It has been so much fun talking about it today. I think we learned a lot about the world of being a comedian, and that it takes a lot more than just being funny.
Yes, a little bit more, like a lot more.
Mm-hmm. Well, also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram at the Tiberius Show, and please be sure to visit the Tiberius Show on YouTube and like and subscribe. Also, be sure to listen to us next week on the Tiberius Show with your host, Tiberius.